Meeting to order. Thank you all for being here today. And I'll turn it over to Cindy.
Yes, sir. So we have here with us today representatives of Barnes Insurance Company. We have Stuart, we have Graham, and Mike McCroskey should be on his way, we think. We have been meeting us with these folks and the staff as it relates to the medical insurance. Primarily, what's on the agenda is the medical insurance, the vision, the dental, and the life, AD&D disability. And those things are pretty straightforward. The medical is a different approach, honestly, to the way that we have done. The city has done health insurance for employees throughout the years. We think it's a good approach, but instead of me talking, you gentlemen need to go ahead and review in particular. You might want to just go over the simpler parts and then really focus on the medical.
Sure. Well, hi guys, again, my grandchild with Barnes. Here we have kind of 4 recommendations for you guys for your benefits starting 1/1/2024. Currently, your benefits renew at 6/1, June 1st, but it makes the most sense to go ahead and move that to January 1st. Humana, your current carrier, is leaving the market, and so we've had to fish for some other options. Obviously, Blue Cross is a big name brand. We're really excited to show this really competitive option from them. Stuart and I and Michelle, we've been looking at every option under the sun. We've looked at UHC, we've looked at Cigna, but we're really excited about this particular option from Blue Cross. So on these first 2 pages are kind of just laying out our recommendations, kind of going through it. If you go to page, I guess it's the 5th page. Actually, let's see here. Actually, let's just stay on that first page. So currently you guys have a $2,500 deductible on your current plan, or a $500 deductible on your current plan. We are proposing to bring that down to a $0 deductible. Currently you have a $2,500 out-of-pocket maximum. We are proposing to bring that down to $735. The way that we are doing that is we are introducing a health reimbursement arrangement. So it's kind of a combo of self-funded and fully insured. A lot of the scary parts of self-funded are you have these really high max claims. You just have no idea what those high claims are going to be. We have it protected. So the self-funded part is kind of on the front end, where that health reimbursement arrangement comes in, and we have it protected. So your max liability is what we're going to be looking at today. What we're really excited about is obviously bringing down that deductible, bringing down an out-of-pocket maximum. Not only are we doing that, but we're wanting to reduce the cost for those who have dependent coverage. So it was over $300,000 in total savings on the plan, and so we've discussed about how we can maybe share some of that savings with the employees, and so we have a model on page 5 for how we want that to look. So if you flip over to page 5, in this top box, in this employee and employer cost analysis, what you'll see is that for employee-only coverage, that's free coverage, currently with Humana. And then if you have a dependent, whether that be 1 or 5, the employee's going to be paying $389.69. And we've modeled out a few different ways, but the best model that we've come up with is to keep that employee-only coverage free for those who have employee and a spouse, or employee and children. It's going to be $155 a month, and for family coverage, it's going to be $250. So for all of those with dependent coverage, they're going to see pretty significant savings.
Is that when it says children, if you have one employee with 4 children, it'd all be the 155?
Would all be under that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And then the City of Gatlinburg employer costs. This is kind of how we broke it down into how it's affecting the the city. So currently you all are paying $3,228,616. With this new plan, even with all these reductions, with the reduction in the deductible and out-of-pocket maximum, that's still coming down over $208,000 for a 6% decrease there. So we're pretty excited about that.
How are you able to do that?
Yeah, Graham, I think it would be good
Walk
for
through the
you to-
HRA?
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Well, I know that.
Let me just walk through it on kind of one specific person rather than talk about the whole group. But the way this kind of works is we purchase a plan from Blue Cross Blue Shield that is bare bones. It's very lean. It's got a high deductible. The HRA then, in this instance, will pay for 90% of the employee's health care costs. So they have a $73.50 out of pocket that we purchased from Blue Cross. The HRA will pay 90% of the employee's costs, so leaving them with an out-of-pocket maximum of $735. So in aggregate, that creates a pretty big liability for the city. But we have an insurance contract that will cap that amount. So the most that you can pay out is 60% of the big number that, you know, is allocated. Once you...
The city.
Yes. Yeah, the city. Once the city surpasses that 60%, if they do, then it's reimbursed 100% by the stop-loss carrier. So this is basically your worst-case scenario number. If you all don't use all of the HRA funds, then that is additional savings to the city as well. So we're able to cap the top end and guarantee that you don't spend more than $3,020,000, but if we have better than expected HRA utilization, which I kind of expected, we should have a little bit better than that money. It's just never spent out of the city's pocket.
When you say never, are you saying never has it or never?
No, it just never. So let's take a hospital bill, for example. It's
Okay.
$10,000. The city's going to pick up 90% of the $73.50. The employee is responsible for $735, which is 10%. If that claim never occurred, then the city never spent the money that is allocated in the HRA. So just through lower utilization, you know, we'll spend out less over the year than what the cap is. Anything less than the cap is retained by the city in the form that it was never paid out in the first place, really.
You looked at previous years at use of the insurance, haven't you? And
They were able to get all the figures from Humana, so they had all the doctors, all the medicine, and what had been.
I
and
think,
they reviewed
Vice
it.
Mayor, you're referring more to the utilization by the...
utilization.
He's talking
in
more
past
about
years
utilization
compared to,
by the
Yeah,
employees.
yes, they had copies of everything. So-
Yeah, we've done an analysis of the past three to 5 years of what the claims numbers look like. But fortunately, in this situation, we're really just looking at how much that HRA utilization is going to be, which is kind of hard to tell. We generally see it around 35-40%. We have you maxed out at 60%. And so that 60%, it's going to have to be a really rough year to hit it. But from what we see of these arrangements, that's where,
Based on what you've seen, the 208,000 is going to be the minimum savings,
That's the
right?
minimum.
minimum
All right,
savings.
so based on what you said, what do you think it's really estimated?
Well-
You think it's more going to be like $300,000 or $400,000 because we don't utilize all of it? Is that probably accurate?
Probably.
300,000 or
So
400,000
Yeah.
probably savings?
That would be my estimation.
And that'd be probably conservative based on what you said?
Yep.
Okay.
the plans behave differently. If we're taking Blue Cross Blue Shield's just average number, most of them have a member pays first amount in front, right? So the member has to pay the first 1,000 or the first 500.
Way more.
That really kind of tempers it down a little bit. So we're contributing from the first dollar here. So that's why the utilization is going to be heavier than Blue Cross's overall block of business.
Right. But we modeled it different ways. Like the 90% was a figure that we kind of came together as a team as the figure to go with, because we really didn't want to disrupt people's costs. They're used to paying co-pays when they go to their PCP. It's 25, and they go to specialist, it's 25, and they go to urgent care, it's 100. And so by instead moving to, you're paying 90%, pretty much all of those costs for all of those visits and all those utilizations are actually going to be lower than what they're currently paying. So the higher you go up with that percentage, say it was 80% or 70%, the utilization is going to be less. But in this first year, especially with moving to Blue Cross, we really wanted to limit the disruption to the employee experience since they're already having to move carriers. But that's what we looked at there.
And let me encourage these questions because we had several meetings to work through this and understand this. Robert, do you want to, from your financial perspective, share some information on this?
Well, Cindy, other than, I don't know if y'all talked about the dependent care, I'll have to step out.
Yeah, that did.
Yeah, they're,
I mean, from the standpoint of how you see it working
Yeah.
financially.
yeah,
for
now
this-
we,
for the
of
city.
course, we'll set up a separate bank account to put these funds in so we can reconcile them better, and then we'll work with Blue Cross Blue Shield on how to handle the back office type thing. I will say for this year's budget, obviously, this year's budget has the old number in the whole budget, so I think have certainly a sufficient amount of funds budgeted because we budgeted based on the present plan through June 30. So this should be at least, as they say, a $200,000 savings because of the safeguards that's in the plan. But I don't have anything else to add other than the fact that the main thing is the out-of-pocket maximum of $735 and the reimbursements going from 80/20 to 90/10, and then there's savings in the employee dependents as well. So, but I don't foresee any issues. And I've talked to Pigeon Forge. They have a very similar arrangement that we are proposing or looking at, and just to make sure that understood how the money would work as far as how we fund it.
Yeah, I left out one piece that I think is kind of important. The HRA is administered by Blue Cross. So it's kind of right along their claims payment system. Everything is done automatically, so there's not ever a receipt for an employee to file or anything like that to get reimbursement. It just, as the claim's paid, this happens simultaneously alongside it. And it just-
The maximum out of pocket is $1765, or is it $730?
$735.
Now, for family, for families, we
That's
try-
the-
Yeah, just two times that amount for family.
So, okay, all right, so I just saw that 1765 is the max out of pocket.
This is it decreases.
Decrease, oh,
A decrease to that,
Gotcha,
yes, sorry.
all right.
That's
And so it's
25.
$735, and then if you have kids, it'll double that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so $1,400-1,500 bucks, whatever.
Or if it's a spouse, because it
Yeah.
could be employee and
Or
spouse,
spouse, yeah,
or
children.
If you have
employee
two
and
or
child
more,
children.
2 or more dependents, then 1470 is your cap there.
Well, we also have, I should have brought more of these, but this is kind of a plan design analysis. So this shows kind of your current plan. But if you're looking at the deductible and the out-of-pocket comparatively, that's kind of how that's where the 735 is. And as you can see, for the primary care and the specialist visit, urgent care visit, all of those costs are going to go down for what they're typically normally paying for those services.
This is the most important one to have right here.
Yeah.
This is the one
I'm gonna
everybody
make
needs to.
copies of it.
Yeah, I'd say they'd want to see that. I
I'm
mean,
gonna make copies.
that's more black and white.
I like this one too.
So I'm sorry, were you?
I'm sorry, she's copying
Okay.
one of the sheets.
That was a side by side of what Humana is and what we have.
It was-
And
Yeah.
it's more,
It was this one.
it's more detailed of the employee savings
Yeah.
that she's making copies of.
Greg has done a little diagram here. that I think could be helpful. We had a big flip chart, you could draw it up there, but,
Well, and I can see, I see that
It's-
there's a little confusing in it.
It
And
is.
it took many meetings for us to get on the same track as well, because you're like, how does all this work? How is this money savings, or how can you bring it down? So you all correct me if I'm wrong, but here's a diagram that, and this is a lot simplified in my mind, in our mind to see. So the employee is gonna pay 10% of the bill, up to $735 out of pocket. So $735 is all the employee pays. So when they go a $200 bill, they're gonna pay $20. So until they reach the $735, if they do, but that's maximum, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, that they're going to be out of pocket for the time of the year. So this account, this HRA that they're talking about, is a pool of money. You see, that's where the circle, so after it leaves the $735 of the employee, it gets into the pool. And the pool is between that and $7,350. So that's where that big lump of money to make this policy work. So you got all that money in there, and the city will only pay up from $735 to $7,350. That's the area. So if they, don't use it much, then that's money saved. But then after that, we have a stop loss, which is based on the 60% that we're insured through. So then we won't be obligated after that amount. We're protected. So,
How many
basically,
employees?
what's it figured on?
327.
oh, how many?
327.
Okay.
So, that's what makes this pool. And just so you know also, the city of Sevierville, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, the city of Pigeon Forge, and Scud.
But I don't think
Sevierville.
Sevierville's
are they
fully.
just self-insured now?
Yeah.
They're self-insured.
Okay, so Pigeon Forge and
We have-
Scud have moved to this, and this is sort of a new way of insurance to companies. So those two entities have switched to this HRA method as
It's a
well.
hybrid between being fully self-insured or being fully insured, like we have been historically, and particularly with Humana, or more recently with Humana, right? It's a hybrid of those two. And I think though, perhaps that's good, Greg, and it actually even helps me. Wish you'd done that about 3 meetings back. But, better late than never, I guess, so it's gonna be different for the employees, and I think that's something obviously that y'all need to be aware of. And I think that, so let's talk about how it's gonna be different for the employee.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I think, obviously, when you're switching carriers, there's going to be just differences, but with this plan design, I guess we'll start with some of the positives. They don't have a deductible anymore. So if they are going in and getting any kind of major care, they don't have to meet that deductible to have the co-insurance hitting. It's hitting at 90% from zero. So that's going to be a little different. They're used to paying co-pays on the prescriptions. That's changing, so it's just going to be 90% of the costs.
10%.
Oh, I'm sorry, they're just paying. They're just paying 10% of those costs on those as well. In terms of providers, and we've done full breakdowns. I think we've looked at every provider you guys have, all the pharmacy. For the majority of the disruption, Blue Cross is actually going to have a stronger network. There's going to be more pharmacy. There's going to be more drugs that are in network. But we did a full breakdown of those. But there shouldn't be any major differences there. Anything you want to?
The difference basically is what they pay at the point of sale. They're typically used to just paying $25 and they're done. So now they'll pay just 10% of the cost. So it's just a little different way of doing it.
So what's the average cost when you go to the doctor?
$9.20 for a primary care.
It's going to be about the average cost for the total visits could be between $100 and $125 typically. For
I need to find
non-specific.
that doctor.
You mentioned pharmacy. So does that include prescriptions? You
Yes.
get that deductible? So for instance, I'm insulin dependent, right? And I have Blue Cross Blue Shield through my line of work, and I have a deductible of $2,500. So when I get my first round of insulin, I got to write a check for $2,500, right? So
Right.
so this will take care of that as well, right?
Yes.
So it's towards that
735 would be your
be
max.
max coming out.
Yeah, that's the max you could write on that one. So, difference there. The other thing about kind of the cost of the doctors is that we have you on Network P, which is the strongest Blue Cross network, which also has the strongest discounts. So there's, those costs are gonna be, significantly better as well in terms of what the actual cost would be.
The same unit of care is gonna cost less under the Blue Cross contract than it did under Humana.
Right.
One thing I did notice is you're showing the savings in here in the packet of 248,000, and on the one you just gave me, it shows 348,000.
Yeah, so the savings that we're showing in the packet, that's the employer savings.
That's employer savings.
This is, the one on this sheet, we really didn't want to cause that issue, but this is just the total cost of the plan. That includes employee contributions.
So the total cost of everything is 348,000, the savings
Yes.
between employer, city, everything.
Yes, and then on the other sheet, it was deducted the amount for improving the payroll deductions for the
Okay.
families.
Gotcha.
So of
That's
the,
where some of the difference was.
yeah, so of the 350,000 total savings of plan, about 150 of that's getting passed on to the employees to reduce their costs.
That's big.
Yeah. Any other questions about the plan? Any concerns we have on the medical plan? The other thing is, we're going to hit the ground running in terms of education for employees. I know it's going to be very different. We're hoping to start meeting with employees this month and start open enrollment process this month, getting all the Blue Cross materials in their hands. Maybe going out sometime in December as well to kind of make sure everyone's got their cards, make sure everyone's knows where they're getting their prescriptions or where they're, make sure their doctor's in network, everyone knows. We're also going to go out to all of your most of the providers in the area and make sure they understand that your plan is changing, so that there's no confusion there. There's always going to be disruption the first few months, but we're going to try to limit that as much as possible, but we'll always be here for a resource to limit that. But we're really taking this seriously to make sure your employees understand this plan and how to use it. So that's a big component of us and Michelle especially.
Mike, did you want to add your 2 cents in here?
That was a dangerous statement if
I
I ever
know.
heard
I
one. One of the biggest things, the short story to all this is real simple. We're creating a plan that puts things on your side of the table. Ultimately, they're all different mechanisms, but the same thing we did down at Sevierville. And we made guarantees to Sevierville, and we ended up exceeding those. And the reason that this works out so well, a lot of the things that have been going to insurance companies, we're getting put back on your side of the table. Your employees are going to end up with better coverage. They're going to end up with a broader network. You're going to be sticking money in your pocket. And it may be a little bit different than what they're used to, but as you can see from the comparisons, they're going to run into things where things are less. But we want you to have confidence. Well, how do you do all that, Mike, and still save us money?
Yeah, Mike, how do you do it?
Well, that's how we do that is we take away from the insurance companies what they've been able to do behind the curtain that you don't know about. And because when they set it up, there's no big magic to insurance when you get right down to it. They're figuring what it costs to run a group at whatever size, and they're figuring that you're going to max out. Everybody's going to near max out, and nobody does that. That doesn't happen. But they're charging for it, and they get to keep the money at the end of the day. They may run a few years where things run bad for them, and they get close to that. They just get less profit that year. Now, we're putting that money back on your side of the table. That's why this is a different structure than just going to a Humana or even going to Blue Cross Blue Shield and say, please insure us. We don't know what else to do. But we've unbundled some of that, we disrupted that, and we put that money on the table. The one thing we want you to understand through all of this, and it's the same promise we've made across the board, everything will be transparent. Everything will be on the table. If you're spending $1, you're gonna be able to see exactly where it's going. It's not going into a black hole somewhere, and we hope this all works out in the end. And that's what enables us to put some money back on the table. We're taking money away from what was Humana, or what would be Blue Cross Blue Shield, or United Healthcare. It doesn't matter which company. You go fully insured, you're making them very happy. And we're taking some of that back off the table and putting it on your side.
How? That's where I'm missing it.
That's where the hybrid, where we're talking about it being self-insured, the HSA, before, you know, the money that we're gonna pool in there is your all's money that is purely going towards those claims, instead of going off to Blue Cross Blue Shield, letting them run it through their system and then kick it back out. There are so many ways that money runs out of a health insurance plan that you don't know about. I mean, it's exactly what happened in the self-insured plan down in Sevierville. There was money bleeding out of that. We don't know where. We can't say. We don't know whether it went to Cigna. We don't know whether it went to the we don't know where it went. But I know this, they were pushing towards $7 million, and by the time we got finished with them, it was down to 4.5. And everybody said we couldn't do what we were going to do. But what we're doing is unraveling what the insurance companies have had a monopoly on. That's what it breaks down to. And we've got the expertise to do it. It's not really that magical. I promise you, you're gonna see it over time. I mean, it's just not something you've been used. This is different than what everybody's been used to, because the insurance companies weren't gonna explain how they were doing everything. It's just, give us this pile of money, and they would act like they were fighting over it, but there really wasn't that much difference between the companies over the long haul. This is making a radical difference. And the companies have to deal with it because we're making them. They don't have a choice. They don't get at the table unless they come through us once we've got control of this.
There's just so much fluff and profit built into a fully insured premium. And so by buying a much lesser plan with such a high deductible and kind of constructing it ourselves and taking, you know, the administration that the previous, you know, other, you know, for having that really good plan, but taking that away, we were just able to find just such significant savings, and just obviously when you strip that away.
So you built this plan based on what you wanted, and then you have Blue Cross Blue Shield sign off on it and go in agreement negotiation?
Well, so Blue Cross, yeah, the Blue Cross plan is a $7,350 out-of-pocket maximum plan, and it's, I mean, there's just there's bare bones, nothing to it. And what we do is we take the HRA and construct our plan as we want. So you can look at putting deductibles in, you can look at the different things, but this was the strongest way to I mean, this is the best plan that we could come up with and still find significant savings.
One thing the way we've kind of described it is, it might be simplistic, but this is kind of more of, we pay what we're using. When you have a fully insured plan, you're just paying what you might use, whether you're paying whether you use it or not.
Yeah, I think that's a
I
great
mean,
way to put it.
and this is more of, you pay for the health care we're actually using, and they build it based on the 60% maximum utilization of this 7350. That's why we're not paying for what we're not using, or in the other situation, you really are for fully insured.
Sure.
And your savings can actually be better than what we're projecting.
Yeah, we've talked about that's maybe.
I mean, we've been pretty conservative in how we've structured it to make sure that we're not coming to you going, well, this didn't work out the right way. We've actually done it to where your number will almost certainly come in more than a little bit better than what we're projecting. But this is what we're saying is definitely going to be on the table.
On this sheet of paper right here, it may be self-explanatory. I don't understand why you have estimated cost 920 cents coins.
Yeah,
Why is
co-insurance, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
it's co-insurance.
Couldn't
Okay.
spell it out there.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha.
So basically
Never
what we
mind.
did, we went to Blue Cross and we asked for their average cost for each of these services, and they gave them to us. This is just 10% of what those average costs are.
Was trying to figure out why coins was in there, but it's called insurance, gotcha.
Bitcoins.
Yeah.
Yeah, thought maybe, yeah, Bitcoin.
Mine's in
9.20.
Bitcoins too, after mine.
I'm not in bit.
I mean, that's actually, not just a 6% savings, it's more like a 10 to 12% savings when you look at how cost increasing,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So it's really not just a 6, that's what's,
This is a better, literally, and it's the same guarantee I made down in, guys, this is personal. I mean, this is, I mean, for everybody else, I live here. Every one of y'all knows where to grab me and grab me up by the, it's, why am I at the table? Because I'm looking you in the eye and telling you this is gonna happen. That this is not something you gotta worry about, and that there's not something that's gonna blow up, and that there's not something we didn't tell you about. We're actually bringing to you what needs to be brought to the city of Gatlinburg to get you proper savings and take care of the employees at the level that I know personally y'all want done. And it can be done. And we're yanking the money out of the, and I don't want to sound populist about that, it's a statement of fact. Because we know how to do it. And this isn't the first time we've done it either.
To get this done, is this formed for just municipalities? Can anybody do
No.
this plan that's got 327 plus employees?
Yeah.
So you could do this for any type of business?
Yeah.
Correct.
Out there?
Yes, sir. About 70% of Blue Cross's accounts with 100 lives or more have an HRA in place right now. So this is commonplace for them. It becomes a competitive advantage for them because other carriers can't do it. So, you know, they're looking at it as a way to gain market share, not like we're taking money out of their pocket. They have to fall under the guidelines of the Affordable Care Act that state that they cannot make more than 15 cents on every dollar in profit. So they're really targeting at that number, and they can gain more market share doing it this way than they can by trying to sell a high premium and then have to refund at the end of the year.
And that's the other reason we brought Blue Cross Blue Shield to the table. Guys, they want your account.
Yes.
Politically, it helps them. I mean, they're a totally Tennessee company. They're totally dependent on their relationship in Nashville. And that means they're totally dependent on their relationship with especially municipalities across the state. So, I mean, we are taking advantage of a situation all the way around, both financially and politically, that benefits the city of Gatlinburg. They are highly motivated to make you happy.
You know, I think the biggest obstacle you're up against is it sounds too good to be true.
Understand? And all we can do, Mike, is point to what we've done before. You're not the experiment that we hope works out.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason I'm sounding way more confident than I did, you want to see me nervous? It was sitting there staring at the Sevier County, the Sevierville commissioners and guaranteeing them 600,000 savings off of it. Now, my people were telling Mike it's going to be more than $1 million, but, and trust me, your plan wasn't in the shape that Sevierville's was in. Not that I'm throwing on Sevierville, but I mean, it's a statement of fact. It just is, those numbers are all public.
So it's Pigeon Forge doing this
Yes,
and Scud,
yes. They sure are.
pretty strong.
And, it's really not anything that's magic. It's just, we know how to get some of that money pulled off the table that's on their side, that's a guarantee that's on their side. The numbers will always work out in their favor in the long haul.
And then additionally, Blue Cross has put a year 2 rate guarantee on this, so
Yep.
we don't have to be concerned about them coming in and giving us a big rate increase next year. It's 7.5%, which, if we perform well, we can get it down below that, but that is a top end for 2025.
It's what, Stuart?
7.5% on the Blue Cross premium. So, back to the comment about, it sounds too good to be true. A lot of people would look at it and be like, well, we're just going to get killed next year, right? We're going to get a really big increase, but we've got that covered.
as well by the rate cap for year 2.
And medicine costs is gonna be better.
It
I
will.
think of people dealing with diabetes.
Yeah, we
and
just
insulin.
discussed that. So a diabetic is gonna be out there, what, $2,500 out of pocket pretty quickly. On this plan, they're gonna pay, 10% of the cost. They don't have a upfront deductible to be, so, yeah. All of the people with chronic conditions are gonna be way better off under this scenario.
But we will work with your employees, Mike, to make sure that they understand a good chunk of that money is our money. It's not, hey, when you're running something up, you're running it on the insurance company. It's money that we've set aside conservatively, and we can cover all this. But if they will working on their blood pressure, working on staying on top of their diabetic medicines, losing weight, that they can directly benefit the city, and that directly benefits them in the long run. Again, we're trying to be transparent with this, to where we can work with them over the long haul, that they know they can preserve these great benefits, and that y'all want that for them. I mean, that's our job, is to make sure that that message is carried forward. We're all in this together.
Okay, let's keep pushing through.
Keep
because-
rolling along?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is our recommendation on the medical plan. Our second recommendation is to move your life and disability from Mutual of Omaha to US Able. US Able partners with Blue Cross. They have a preferred relationship there. But what we were really looking for there was a rate guarantee and some savings. So we have a 2-year rate guarantee to move that starting January 1, and we're looking at annual savings of around $6,360.
Now, which one is this,
It's on the first page.
the bill?
Yeah,
It's in the very back of
Very
the
back, it's a
packet.
breakdown.
but the breakdown's on the back of the packet. So what's really important with life and disability contracts is that the major provisions need to either match or improve. And so the major provisions especially on the long-term disability insurance, but they are matching all of those provisions. So there's not nothing's going to jump out or sneak there. So that's good there. All of your employees that have voluntary life insurance, they're going to be able to carry that over at the same cost with the new carrier. But it just seemed like a clean transition to do that and get that rate guarantee for 2 years.
How many employees actually use this? Was there a lot of them out of the 327?
It's a pretty significant amount. I think it's like around 150 use it.
150
Yeah.
pay for it?
Yeah. For those that, it's a really good benefit for new employees when they're coming in to have that guarantee issue on the life insurance, especially if they're not able to get life insurance elsewhere. But a lot of these, for some of these, the costs are significantly lower than what they can get elsewhere since there's no pre-existing condition limitation.
You know, we provide the 20,000 for all of it.
Yeah,
That's
not
right.
always.
You pay for all that.
Right.
The voluntary and the,
So when you said
Long-term
150, we
disability,
were talking about
we don't pay
150
for it.
that have
It's
more,
we pay for that. The city pays for
more
it, too.
Okay.
life
The only thing
insurance.
we don't pay
That
for
ought
is
to
that are
buy
buying-
more
Yeah, we're
life
buying
Yes,
insurance.
yes,
insurance.
The city pays for $20,000 worth of life insurance for each employee, right?
Yes, he's a classified employee, and they have the option to buy more if they want.
And so the 150 he was talking about are those
Extra.
employees that exercise the option to buy more,
Right.
correct?
Yes. But the 20,000 that you all provide is very solid. What you're really trying to do there with that benefit is make sure that you're covering funeral costs and things like that. And that 20,000, although those funeral costs have gone up, it does do a very good job of helping those employees.
so if you were gonna take the voluntary life that the employee has to pay, so if you're 50 years of age, is that 60, that's 33 cents a month, is all it is?
It's 33 cents per $1,000.
Per $1,000 that you get, gotcha, all
Yeah.
right.
And then you can elect up to 150,000 without having to answer any medical questions. So, for people that can't get life insurance somewhere else because of a chronic condition or something, they have that option, and it's no questions asked.
I would always tell anyone, if you're gonna buy voluntary life insurance, try to get it outside of your employer, if you can.
If you're healthy.
Yeah, because you'll be able to have a longer term. The age bands they're not age banded, and you'll be able to keep it. But if you're not healthy, sometimes the only time you can get life insurance like that is through your employer. Yeah,
I have to get through my employer.
and
I can get it, but it's like very, very expensive.
exactly. Yeah, I hear that. So that was our second recommendation. Any other questions on the life and disability? That shouldn't be a major impact to the employees at all. We are looking to retain your dental plan with Blue Cross, but we are going to move the annual maximum from $1,500 to $2,500. So when we looked at that, it was an increase of a few pennies. Really wasn't anything crazy. So we just with inflation going up, those maximums just need to go up every now and again. So of all years to do it, this is probably the year to do it. But that was kind of our recommendation, was just to move that up and take that minimal increase.
That's the only thing that's increased on us then, correct?
Yeah.
Just the, $3,500 or whatever?
Right. I think if you look at the dental is on page, I think it's going to be the 8th page. You can actually see what the increase is going to be. So it was a 3% total increase, but you can look for what each different tier is going to be. It's just a few dollars per month for the employees.
Your savings on the volunteer more than almost pays for it. But not all, it does pay for it.
Right.
Still,
Right.
And then our fourth recommendation is we looked at vision with Blue Cross just because it would be the easiest for your financial team and your HR team if we could kind of wrap everything and bundle everything together. However, there was a provider in Sevier County that is not in the Blue Cross network, and it's Dr. Wise, I believe. And we think you guys should have them in network. Need to support our local providers. We don't want anyone not to go there, but also we don't want people to change carriers or change providers. So it would be our recommendation to stay with Humana. They are extending a 2-year rate guarantee at current rates, so that
Would, just asking, because I don't want to move since that provider, but was there going to be a cost savings if we did move to Blue Cross Blue Shield?
there was a little savings.
Not a whole lot though.
It wasn't, the vision premium is pretty low anyways. So that savings, if you compare that savings to them losing a local provider,
You're talking about a couple thousand.
it wasn't very significant.
Okay.
Most of the employees go to Dr. Whaley.
Yeah, he said he'd do it for free.
Oh, yeah. Does he still practice?
We can draw some people.
As it relates to what's in the budget, then, Robert, all of this would be covered in the present
It
budget.
would be,
Yeah.
because we bundle that into that health insurance, but there's ample reserve because of how we budgeted being fully insured this year.
Yeah. So I think that's important to note as well, that it's covered in the budget. All of these coverages are
Any
covered.
other questions, comments?
Good job, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you all. Very much appreciate it.
Your team is tough. We've been meeting a lot. They've been asking a lot of tough questions. They are very detail oriented. So this has been a process.
Everybody looks at me. All right, thank you, guys.
Yeah.
What's the minimum requirements
You and
on the
Kevin
health?
were done.
Minimum?
Yeah, Kevin.
Is there a minimum on it?
We're done.